What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today when I talk to you about Faraday Future, give you a quick overview of some of the data points, break it down on what's been really coming out from the company itself, and just briefly talk on what the next big catalyst for Faraday is going to be. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off, Faraday did close flat over this last week. So that's kind of surprising considering ever since Trump's inauguration, EVs have been hit very hard. Most of the EVs did get hit roughly about 10 to 15% over this last week. So the fact that Faraday did hold its gains is very impressive. Got to give credit when credit is due. There hasn't been all that much in news associated to Faraday though. Last news came out January the 13th. So my last video I did kind of talk about all this, and then no SEC filings. So it's just been speculative at this stage in the game. There has been a couple posts on social media. So it looks like they did have a event for the LA wildfires. So very good. I always like to see a company giving back. Although I noticed that they still used the old logo on here when they should be using the kind of the newer one that they announced, I think the week or 2 weeks prior. And then aside from that, this is just more of a promotional video, more so on the team. Still no real reason to buy Faraday. So like I said, I think it's just a lot of speculation and whatever else. And so I'm going to go over some data points and then kind of talk on what the next big catalyst for Faraday is going to be. So as of right now, 36.23% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 15.85 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost of borrow average is 19.32. Utilization is 78.65. And so essentially you have a lot of people talking on social media that Faraday is a squeeze play, and that is going to go just up from here and have an epic squeeze. Could happen. Of course, the last couple times Faraday's ran up is very difficult to time. But essentially, if you do believe 36% of the free float's being shorted, that's already more than the last time when it did go up in November, I believe it was, or whenever it was right over here. I'll just double check. I think it was November. Yeah, it was, or ended December, sorry. So yeah, all in all, it could definitely squeeze. You have seen, as far as options go, a little bit more call options being purchased. So that could be attributed to potentially shorts hedging. So again, there's that kind of attribute behind the scenes. On Friday, there was 185,000 in calls, 660,000 in puts. Looking at this, so 845 in total premiums on Friday, 207,000 on the day prior, so Thursday, Wednesday, and so forth. So not all that much. It just randomly dropped like a rock on January the 10th. It looks like there was roughly around 1.9 million in premiums and was like 8 million and whatever else when it was squeezing. But since then, it just dropped like crazy. But looking at the open interest, you still do see it's still very optimistic about the future. So yeah, anything is possible with Faraday. Of course, I think I'm more at the stage of show me. I'm sure a lot of you who have watched my videos, I've kind of stated that I don't generally trust management. But at this stage, they just need to get their act together and just do it. So that sub brand that they're saying that's coming out later this year, they need to make sure that is on point. But aside from that, looking forward into this upcoming week, of the call options, you see a consensus for it to be kind of still around that $1.50 to $2 range. So a little bit more of a improvement. And then the bears are anticipating for it to be kind of around that $1.50. So there is more upside anticipated. Some things to take note of though is these are all the transactions that did occur on Friday. So it's back to that 1 to 2 transactions a day coming from big money. So big money is not really paying attention to Faraday. I think they need more operational updates before you start to see that level of commitment. And just take note of some of the strong support and resistance points. So with that $1.45, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. So you'll see a continued amount of volatility, probably between that $1.38 and $1.57 range. And on Friday, it did briefly kind of bounced off of both. So just anticipate continued volatility within that range. $1.27 will be the following support. And then $1.57 is going to be the next strong resistance / target. But With all that said though, the next big catalyst for Faraday, known catalyst, of course they could be doing and put some other PR out, but the next known catalyst is going to be their earnings, tentatively slated for March the 7th. That's just an estimate. They haven't actually announced it yet, but I think in general, that is going to be the next big one because Faraday, for the most part, this stage in the game, they're still going to get a pass from the broader market. So their earnings per share, revenue, that's just going to be kind of quashed. What the market is really going to care about is the level of dilution that's been occurring and what their plan is and estimates for the future, like that sub brand. How much money will they essentially need as of right now? Because they just did a issuance, and it is fair to assume that's probably just for the prototypes, and I don't know. So I think they just need to make it very clear to investors what the future holds. And if they do that, I feel like the market will take that very positively. So like no different than any other of their previous earnings, I think a lot of the key metrics will be a pass. So even if they miss on earnings per share or whatever else, it's not going to be that big of a deal because even last earnings, the earnings per share was estimated, of course, to be $329.52 negative. So yeah, I think the expectations for Faraday are extremely low, but potentially that could work in its benefit. But let me know your viewpoint on Faraday. What other, aside from their earnings, what do you think the next big catalyst is going to be? And have you been buying Faraday? Have you been selling? Where do you see things going in the short term? So let me know your viewpoint. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Hopefully everyone's having an amazing weekend thus far. One final thing though, pop over to my Patreon. I did launch it roughly around 2 months ago. In that 2 months, I've had many stocks that have doubled, quadrupled, so definitely worthwhile to pop over there. So I give buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. So definitely pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.